Hey there YouTube, it's time for another episode of Pete Plays. Today I'm going to put Top Gun through its paces for the NES. Of course, the game Top Gun is notorious for its difficult landings. We'll see what happens. Top Gun was actually one of the first Nintendo Entertainment System games that I played. I didn't own it at first. In fact, a friend of mine out in Worcester, Massachusetts that I was visiting for winter vacation actually had it, and that's the first place that I got to try it. So this is Mission 1. Let's see. I'm going to go with the Hound missiles, because really you don't need any more than that for this particular mission. And let's take off. Of course, Mission 1 is the easiest, as it should be. Waiting to get airborne here. Here we go. Interestingly enough, all of the waves are in threes. And here comes another wave from behind. Only two that time. Whoops. So it's between 2 to 3. My bad. I like how the game kind of gets you started. It's not very difficult to start. Kind of gets you acclimated. There are some of those missiles that I can't stand. I rarely use missiles early on. Here I will, though. Those missiles are the death of me. The bullets I can avoid with no problem, but the missiles, again, one hit with those and you're dead. Comes someone tailing me. Now is easy enough to get rid of. Whoops. I think the big problem with this game is that there's not a lot going on. It doesn't feel tense, at least early on, aside from when the missiles are shot at you, that is. So it just feels like you're kind of flying for no rhyme or reason. Should be getting ready to land here shortly. Of course, the pressure's going to be on a little bit when you have to land on camera. As it is, I've already died once, which is something I usually don't do. Okay, here we go. Usually my success rate with landing is about 1 out of every 3. Pretty expensive if you're in the Navy. Speed down, I know. Let's see. Looking good. Well, would you look at that? I actually managed to land on camera. Alright, so that kind of takes care of the whole thing where I lost a life early on. So now I'm going to destroy an aircraft carrier, which I can do most of the time. This time I'm going to use the Wolf missiles because they're a little bit stronger. The Angry Video Game Nerd likes to make fun of the fact that the missiles really don't make a lot of difference, but they kind of do as far as when they hit. As long as you don't use them for planes, you're good. But if you're using them on aircraft carriers, it makes a big difference. It definitely makes things easier. Now, there are two ways to attack Mission 2. You can either go down below where the carriers are, or the gunships are, or you can go up top, which is what I do. Going up top means you don't have to deal with the missiles for the most part. If all you have to do is deal with gunfire, it's not so bad. Oops. The trick, though, is to try and stay away from seeing the water. Once you see the water, anytime those gunships come out, they can launch missiles at you. And that's no good. I like how everything is pretty much clear visibility, at least for the first couple of levels. No rain, just puffy clouds. You probably can't see it because I'm just using webcam, but there's a lot of gunship activity that I'm avoiding by staying above the water. And you have to keep the water completely out of your viewpoint. As soon as you can see the water, they can launch missiles at you. It doesn't matter how close or far away you are. Now, if I remember right, because it's been a little while since I've played, I think there's a mid-air refueling mission, which is much like landing, so we'll have to see whether I can actually get that done. So far, so good, though. I haven't run into any serious problems. Funny part is, I'm still climbing, but the altimeter is stuck at 30,000 feet, so I can't go any higher even if I do climb, which makes no sense. Now, if I remember right, and it's been a long time, I believe that once my fuel gets to like 3 bars, I think that's when the refueling flight comes in. So I still have a little ways to go here. Again, it's not very captivating. You don't feel immersed up here. With the exception of the random bogey that tails you, you really don't have a lot going on. Still, though, the strategy for staying above the water and not being seen by the gunships is the best thing. You will still get missiles fired at you from enemy aircraft above, but it's not nearly as difficult as dealing with the gunships below. We should be refueling here shortly. There we go. Okay. Fuel is not empty, by the way. I'm on 2 bars. Here goes nothing. Okay, so the same thing applies, kind of, that applies with the landing, except there aren't the number benchmarks. Like, you don't have to hit a specific speed or altitude. It's just a matter of matching up, which I was able to do here. So far, I'm 2 for 2. You guys are a lucky charm, which continues to happen for all these Pete Plays videos for whatever reason. Anytime I think I'm going to have trouble with something, I know that I'm on camera, all of a sudden I can do it. So, back to combat we go. Again, being very careful not to use my missiles unless I have to. So far, this is going about as well as I could have anticipated. Even better. Aside from that foolish mistake of losing a life early, I'm doing okay. I screwed up. That's what happens. If you show the water below, you're screwed. Because once you get those 3 missiles that come at you, you're not getting out of that little trap. I still have a chance, though. I still have a chance to get through Stage 2 here and get to Stage 3 where I will promptly die. I freaking did it again. I give advice and I don't follow it. Typical. It's really lonely up here. Ah, there we go. I guess that's the other problem, too, is you feel like you're very alone, like almost solitary. Whereas when you're flying actual missions, usually you have wingmen, which kind of keep you company and make you feel a little less alone. Alright, here we go. Now we're talking. And now you can't get away from the missiles, so... now it's you versus the ship or the other carriers, and you just have to hope that you make the right decisions and don't waste all of your missiles. And of course, because I was 30,000 feet up, I have to wait to drop altitude, so this takes a little bit. Dropping past 15,000 feet now, or 16,000. $10,000 feet. $5,000 feet. Here we go. I did it! And now, of course, the pressure's on because I have to land. And if I screw this up, the game's over. Oh, man. I'm not even looking. Awesome. 2 landing attempts, 2 landings. You guys are lucky charms. Mission 3, destroy an enemy base. Again, we'll go with the T-22 Wolves. Bear in mind now I have no extra lives, so first mistake I make is my last. Not exactly the most talkative Let's Play this time, but... now you can see that rather than over water, I'm over land. Same kind of limitations apply, however, because you still have land targets. So instead of being over water with those carriers, you have to deal with land targets that'll lob missiles at you. So it's the same kind of thing. Don't make any mistakes. I think I've only made it this far a couple of times, to be honest with you. Usually I make one landing error and then a couple of other errors on the other stages, and I'm usually gone. I have been here before, but just not very often. that is the one neat thing that I'll give this game, is when you do have random bogeys that come up on you from behind, you do feel a little bit of pressure to throw them off. And of course, when you're engaging a strategy like I am, where you're trying to keep the landmass out of the picture so you can't have missiles thrown at you, it becomes a little bit more daunting, because while you're trying to throw the enemy off your tail, you can also let land see you, and then you can be in big trouble. Oof. Very close. Some of the graphics imperfections you have to chalk up to the fact that this is 1987, so this is still fairly early in the Nintendo Entertainment System's lifespan. So asking for really detailed graphics at this time is kind of silly. It gets the job done. You know, the clouds aren't anything to look at, and the planes are kind of the same. The only thing that really varies are the boss enemies at the end of each level, the aircraft carrier or the enemy base. But again, it's adequate. It gets the job done. Anytime I see those missiles, it makes me cringe. Because if you're not fast enough to shoot them down, you know that that's it. And of course, this is where all the pressure is. With no lives in reserve, one mistake ends the game. You grip that controller a little tighter. You're a little bit more in tune with what's around you. You almost try too hard not to make a mistake. All right, it's time to refuel again. There we go. Now it's time to refuel. And I was able to connect there, so 2 for 2 on the mid-air refuelings, 2 for 2 on the landings. Not doing too terribly. As a matter of fact, the thing I feel worst about is that the mistakes that I've made on my own. It hasn't been something that I felt that the game overwhelmed me. I was just dumb. Which is really the good sign of a game. If you know that you die or you lose a life because of your own mistake, it feels a lot better than it does if you die because you feel the game was being unfair. Which happened a lot during the NES era, I might add. I really should pay attention to the screen. Now I'm starting to get a little excited, and the reason is... Wow, I lucked out. I should have been dead. The reason I'm excited is because if I get to this last enemy, I actually have a chance of getting further than I have before, which is a pretty big deal. Nothing like having for posterity something like this on camera that I can look back on and go, yeah, I got this far. That's kind of exciting. Uh-oh. Alright. So far, so good still. Ah, crap, I did it again! It's when you stop paying attention to the little things that you make a mistake. Gotta keep skyward. I really should have been dead a couple of times already in this level. I'm now just getting very lucky. I think this might be the enemy base, though. Well, still got a little bit more going on. A lot of ground enemies here. Okay, is this it? Okay. So if you're watching this video, do you think I'm going to make it? Again, no lives. I have my missiles. Pull for me from home. Granted, you could just skip to the end of the video and see what happens, but if you've made it this far, then cheer. I guess the nice thing about having to descend this far is I get to collect my thoughts and kind of get myself ready. Here goes nothing. Eventually. Ah. Come on! No, not missiles! I did it! I freaking did it! Oh no, I have to land. Ah. I always get excited and then I remember that I have to land and the pressure just comes back. But I've done it twice, right? Can't be that bad. Oh, come on now. I think I did it. That settles it. From now on, I'm going to play games on camera because I actually do better than I do when I play on my own. So, Mission 4, destroy an enemy space shuttle. This is now the farthest I've been. I'll stick with the usual and we'll see what happens. This is exciting stuff. At least it is for me. Those of you who have played the game before and have been this far, it's probably not a big deal. But whenever you make it further than you've been ever, and considering how old this game is, it's kind of a big deal. And the fact that I have it on camera is just sauce for the goose, as Mr. Spock would say. Alright, already this is difficult. It is now much tougher to see missiles coming at you because of the night sky or the space or wherever it is that I am. So that adds some complication to things. The good news is that I haven't seen any ground targets yet. Oh boy, that's twice I've been hit already. Stage 4 does not mess around. Oh, it'd be nice if I was able to get a free life. Boy, I'd like to be able to beat this game on camera. How neat would that be? Oh boy. And I'm dead. 69,200 points is what I wound up with in Top Gun. Congratulations, Lieutenant. You have saved your country with honor and courage. You are one of the elite now, the best of the best, and we are proud to bestow upon you the designation of Top Gun. Wow, what a rush this was. Top Gun for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So, what do I think of the game now that I've taken some time to play through it? Well, I'll tell you, for starters, getting further than you've ever been in a game certainly gets your blood pumping and makes you excited. It's a little bit difficult to come back to at times. The graphics certainly are lacking a little something, especially after playing games that have come after it. But it's still pretty iconic in what it is. One of the early Konami games in the NES lineup, so it's got that symbolic quality to it. The music is great, what little of it there is. The graphics are okay, they're passable, and the game does play well. The things that are difficult, of course, are landing the plane, being able to keep your speed and your altitude within the recommended windows. And the mid-air refueling missions can be a bit frustrating at times too, especially if you're not ready for them. If you don't have Top Gun for the NES in your collection already, you can certainly find it for just a couple of dollars, and you could do worse than buying this game and playing it. And hey, if I can be a Top Gun, why can't you? I hope that you'll enjoy it if you do buy it. Until the next Pete Plays, I hope you guys have a great one, and we'll do it again soon.